I was a soldier of Pharaoh, a son of Egypt, born beneath a burning sun and the pride of golden temples. From boyhood, I was trained to obey, to ride, to fight, and to die if the crown demanded it. My armor gleamed like the morning light on the Nile, my hands calloused from the rains of war. I marched behind Pharaoh's banners, through deserts and storms, believing Egypt was eternal, unshakable, divine. Then came the slaves, the Hebrews, their God, their plagues. At first, we laughed. How could shepherds defy the gods of Egypt? But our laughter turned to fear when the Nile became blood, when the sun vanished, when the cries of the firstborn echoed through the night. We buried our own that morning, sons of warriors, princes of Pharaoh, all gone in a single breath. The very air trembled with the weight of their god's anger. Still, Pharaoh's pride would not yield. So when word came that the Hebrews had fled, he ordered us to ride. He would not be mocked. I remember tightening the straps on my armor, the war horns echoing across the city as the chariots rolled out in a storm of dust and shouting. The desert wind whipped our faces, and the ground thundered beneath our wheels. We rode with 600 of Pharaoh's finest. I told myself we were unstoppable. I told myself Egypt would never bow. 10. We saw it the sea, endless, impenetrable, and there, trapped at its edge, were the Hebrews. Thousands of them, children clinging to their mothers, their faces pale with terror. We had them cornered. The desert at their back, the sea before them, nowhere left to run. Pharaoh raised his hand, ready to strike, but the sky began to roar. A wind, unlike any I had ever felt, tore across the sand. Fierce and cold, cutting through armor and flesh alike. The clouds rolled black. Lightning slashed through the heavens, and before our eyes, the sea began to move. The waters split, not in waves or currents, but into walls towering, shimmering walls that rose higher than any temple, stretching farther than the eye could see. Between them, a dry path appeared, glistening in the moonlight like polished stone. We froze. Even our horses reared in terror. No god of Egypt had ever done this. And yet, the Hebrews walked forward, trembling, but obedient, into the heart of the sea. Their torches flickered like stars swallowed by mist. Their songs faint under the wind. Pharaoh's chariot pushed ahead. He shouted, "Follow them. The slaves will not escape Egypt's wrath." Though my heart screamed to stop, my hands obeyed. I spurred my horse forward and entered the path. The air inside was thick and heavy, humming with power. On Aether's sea, the walls of water loomed like living mountains. I saw shadows gliding within them, massive fish, serpents, creatures I could not name. It was as if the sea itself had eyes. The ground beneath our wheels turned slick and soft. The horses slipped. Sparks flew from iron rims. The cries of men and beasts echoed between those watery walls, every sound swallowed by something greater than fear. Ahead of us, the Hebrews ran. Children clung to their fathers. Old men stumbled but were pulled along by younger arms. Above them, the wind howled like a voice, whispering, "This path is not yours." Then, the light came. A blaze of fire, brighter than 1,000 suns, dropped from the heavens, cutting between us and them. The flames reached higher than the pyramids, casting everything in gold and red. The smell of burning salt filled the air. Our chariot screeched to a halt. Men shouted in panic. The horses whinnied and bucked, their eyes rolling white. I saw one soldier fall beneath his own wheels. Pharaoh's command pierced the chaos. Drive on. But the ground had begun to tremble. Our wheels sank deeper into the mud. The wind shifted, no longer guiding, but pushing, and the walls of the sea began to move. The roar was deafening. I looked up and saw the first crack, a ripple of water snaking down from the top. Then another, then 1,000. The sea collapsed. I remember the scream of my horse, the snap of the reins, the violent pull as the flood hit. The world became noise, thunder, and salt, and darkness. My chariot shattered. My body was thrown like driftwood, tumbling through water so heavy it felt like stone, spinning in the fury of the deep. I tried to breathe, but every breath was pain. Then, silence. I floated. Somehow, I surfaced. The air was cold, the sky gray. The sea, once divided, now stretched endlessly, again merciless, complete. Around me drifted the wreckage of Egypt's pride. Broken chariots, helmets, bodice. Pharaoh was gone. The might of our empire had drowned in a single night. I crawled to the shore, choking, trembling, the sand clinging to me like judgment. I lifted my head, and across the water, I saw them, the Hebrews, standing on the far side, safe, alive. Their leader raised his staff toward the heavens, and their voices rose in a song of deliverance, of victory, of freedom. I listened to that faint, distant, yet piercing sound, and I wept. Not for my comrades, not for Pharaoh, but for myself. For the blindness that led me into the jaws of a living sea. For the pride that deafened me to every warning. I had seen gods made of stone and gold. But that night, I saw a God who moved oceans, who breathed through wind and spoke through water. I knew then, we were never fighting slaves. We were fighting the living will of the Almighty. When dawn broke, I walked into the desert. My armor was gone. My sword was lost. Every step I took sank into the dust of defeat. But in my chest burned something new, something terrible and holy. The memory of a power that cannot be chained, of mercy that cannot be bought, of a faith that can move seas. Sometimes, when the wind raises off the Nile, I still hear it, that endless roar. The sound of water crashing down. The voice of a God no army could silence. I remember what I saw, and what I survived. I am the last of Pharaoh's chariots, the witness to Egypt's undoing, the man who rode into the heart of the sea, and lived to tell what should never be told. The Hebrews called it deliverance. We called it ruin, but I call it truth, because no man who has heard the voice of the sea and lived can ever be the same again.